Today I want to talk to you about helixes and why I don't like them. That's coming right up. Hi, I'm Roy Smith. I recently uploaded several videos about things we like to do and things we don't like to do on our layouts. You already know that if you have seen my recent videos. Well, there is something that I failed to mention in those videos that I really hate, and that is building and operating helixes. I can't believe I overlooked it. A few days ago, Thomas Weekly, one of my subscribers, wrote a comment in which he said, "I thought building a helix would make your list." Good point, Thomas. Thanks for your comment, because helixes belong at or near the top of a list of things I don't like. Today we're going to take a look at my eastern helix. I call it my eastern helix because it's located at the eastern end of my layout, and it takes eastbound trains down to my staging yard. Let's begin by watching several trains as they take the eastern helix from the upper level down to staging. Here's the first of those trains, an eastbound tank car train. We should see that the train arrives here at the eastern throat of my staging yard in just a moment. That's strange. It still hasn't arrived. Well, the Union Pacific's overland route across southern Wyoming is always busy with an average of 70 trains per day. Here comes another one now, an eastbound covered hopper train loaded with soda ash. Like the first train, it will descend the helix eastbound. No sign of the first or the second train. This is alarming. Well, here comes the third train already, an empty coal train headed for the mines at the Powder River Basin in eastern Wyoming. Holy crap, still no sign of the first or the second or the third train. Well, now you know the main reason why I don't like helixes. Trains disappear in them for long periods of time. While we're waiting for the three trains, let's take a closer look at my infamous eastern helix. As you can see, it's fully hidden behind the fascia. It takes trains from the upper level of my layout at 56 inches above floor level down a 2% grade to the lower level at 48 inches above floor level. The two levels are separated by a clearance of 8 inches. Why would any sane person build a helix like this in the first place? Why would I put such a helix on my layout and then hide it behind fascia? First of all, I incorporated the helix into my track plan because I needed to get from the upper level of my layout down to the staging yard on the lower level. That is the main reason why model railroaders use one or more helixes on their track plan. They want to get from one level to another level of their layout, and quite often helixes are the only way to do it. and I hid the helix behind fascia because helixes are very unprototypical and I thought it should not be visible. Well, I didn't want a helix on my layout, but I also didn't want a layout with any duck unders, and I didn't want my trains running back and forth through a scene more than once. There wasn't enough space on my layout for a long, gradual incline to get from the upper level down to the lower level. So to avoid the things I didn't want and still be able to get from the upper level down to the lower level, I reluctantly incorporated the eastern helix into my track plan. Did I make the right decision? Well, let me tell you the reasons why I don't like it. 1. Constructing a helix can be tedious and complicated. Here is the eastern helix under construction in 2014. As you might imagine, a helix must be carefully planned. It must be carefully constructed. The track work and wiring in the helix must be bulletproof. Building a helix can take a lot of time. I have to tell you that I built the benchwork that supports my eastern helix, but I didn't build the helix itself. I bought it as a kit from Ashland Designs in 2014. I don't think Ashland Designs makes these kits anymore. 2. My helix takes up a lot of space in the layout room. It covers a footprint of 3 feet by 3 feet. That's a lot of space in a room that measures only 10 feet by 12 feet. 3. It can be hard to clean the track in a helix. It can be hard to clean track any place where you can't see it or reach it easily. The track in a helix is generally less accessible and therefore more difficult to clean than track on other parts of a layout. 4. Derailments and unwanted uncouplings tend to occur in the most difficult to reach places on a layout, such as in helixes. When this happens, I have to kneel and crawl under the helix to fix the problem. And when I get in there, I always end up knocking the cars off the track. I have to pull them out of the helix one by one. 5. Trains have to be sufficiently powered to climb a helix. My eastern helix has a modest 2% grade, but even so, trains longer than 10 or 12 cars have to be headed up by 2 or more diesels to climb the grade. And 6, as I said before, my biggest complaint about helixes is that the trains disappear from view for what seems like a really long time. This can frustrate and confuse visitors. It can even make you and your crews crazy. Crews can worry about their trains when they disappear in a helix. They may wonder, is the train operating okay? Has it derailed? Is the consist still intact? I know it's possible to add mirrors, cameras, and occupancy detectors to helixes, but to me, those are complications, and I prefer to keep my layout simple. Well, what are the alternatives to hidden helixes? Some layouts incorporate a long, gradual incline from one level to the other, although it may be difficult to do this on a small layout. Perhaps the best alternative is an open helix like my western helix. I built my western helix about a year after building the eastern helix. As you can see, the track in the western helix is accessible for cleaning and fixing derailments. But what am I going to do about my eastern helix? Originally, White Mountain, which sits atop the helix, was supposed to be built as a lift-out so I could remove it in order to stand up inside the helix. I never did make it removable, although I still could because White Mountain is made from styrofoam and it could be easily cut with a knife. This would be an improvement, but I would still be stuck with the helix. I could remove the fascia or at least cut openings in the fascia. This would make the track in front accessible, but the track in back of the helix would be no more accessible than it is now. Finally, I could remove the helix altogether and replace it with a bridge that runs over to the Pocatello staging area. I'm not sure what I will end up doing. What would you do if it was your layout? It's taken forever, but the trains are finally emerging from the helix and are arriving in the staging yard. Alright, that's what I wanted to say about helixes. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe if this is your first time here and hit the bell icon so that you don't miss any upcoming episodes on this channel. Thanks for watching. Until next time, happy railroading. I will see you again very soon.